How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto fall in love with Inner Moka? Part 2. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. Omote sat on a set of stairs thinking about what transpired today. She had a bit of a misunderstanding with Tsukune. She went to search for him only to see him with a blue-haired girl. Later on, said girl accuses her of using Tsukune, and then the final nail in the coffin, Tsukune agreed with her. Unable to take it, she ran away with tears in her eyes. Does Tsukune really believe that I'm only using him to suck his blood? She asked herself as she wiped the tears from her eyes. It's not true. She muttered to herself, upset. How could Kurama accuse her of doing something like that when she's doing the same thing? Omote. A voice from behind called. Turning her head, the pink-haired vampire turned to see Yura and Naruto walking towards her. Yura took a seat by her sister, while Naruto leaned against the rail with his arms crossed. What are you two doing here? She asked, trying to hide her inner turmoil to no avail. We came to check on you, Omote-chan. Naruto said, watching the girl. I'm okay. She tried to reassure them, but Omote was never good at hiding her emotions, especially from her sister. Don't lie to me, Omote. I saw how those words affected you. Those two will pay for hurting you. Yura said as she placed a comforting hand on Omote's shoulder. You don't have to do anything, Yura-chan, everyone is allowed to have their own opinion, I just didn't know that's how Tsukune felt about me. Omote reasoned. Although she was hurt, she didn't want her sister to get into a fight with anyone, but Yura didn't seem to agree. Even so, that does not excuse them. Yura protested. She understood that her sister did not like confrontations, but right now she did not care. The succubus would pay for her actions and accusations, and Tsukune Yura was definitely going to show him his place. Yura-chan, I know you're only looking out for me, but you can't beat up people for expressing themselves. I guess it was my fault. I kept drinking Tsukune's blood after all, no wonder he thinks I'm using him. Omote said with a sad look in her eyes. That might not be the case. Naruto said with a thoughtful expression on his face, gaining the attention from the two girls. What do you mean? Omote asked, confused, while Yura raised an elegant eyebrow, silently asking him to explain. Well, I've been thinking, he said, but was interrupted. Shocking, I thought you were incapable of thinking. Yura scoffed while crossing her arms, causing Naruto to face fault. Despite the events from earlier, Omote couldn't help but giggle at their actions. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. Anyway, like I was saying, something about this situation is a bit off. He explained. What do you mean? Omote asked. Remember earlier when Kurama was talking to me? Yes, oh? Yura asked, wondering where he was going with his. Hopefully it could jog her memory, because she knew there was something about the succubus that she was missing, something important. Well, she was talking to me, our eyes locked. After that I felt weird. I just suddenly blanked out. I was aware of my actions, but it was like my body had a mind of its own. He explained, scratching the back of his head thoughtfully. That is weird. Omote agreed with a confused frown. I know. What Tsukune said to you was something he wouldn't normally say, so maybe what happened to me happened to him. Naruto said, earning a nod from Omote while Yura remained silent. That might be it. She agreed, feeling a sense of hope. Perhaps something was wrong, and Tsukune really does think of her as a real friend. Of course. Yura suddenly said, gaining the attention of the other two. Did you figure something out, Yura-chan? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. How could I have been so foolish? Now everything makes sense. She chastised herself, ignoring the blonde. I'm glad everything makes sense to you, but we're still in the dark. Naruto said, pointing to Omote and himself. What is it, Yura-chan? Omote asked, confused. Charm. Was the only thing she said, earning confused looks from the other two. Charm? Naruto asked, not getting what she was saying. Yes, it is a form of sorcery that can turn the opposite sex into the user's slave. She elaborated. What? Omote asked, shocked. She did not like where this was going. I knew there was something about the succubus that I was forgetting. The succubus are a race that seduces males by using charm. She said. So Tsukune is under Kurama's charm? Omote asked. From what Naruto has said, I am positive. Yura answered before looking at the blonde. Speaking of which, exactly how did you break out of her charm? I don't know. I guess my will was just stronger. Naruto said nervously. He didn't know how to explain how Kurama broke the charm, and something told him that saying the giant demon fox that lives inside of me took control of my body to break free would take too long to explain. Yura looked at him, obviously not believing his answer, but she was going to let it slide for now. Anyway, if we wish to rescue Tsukune, we must hurry. A male who receives a kiss from a succubus will become their slave for all eternity. Yura explained, causing them to go wide-eye. Oh no, Tsukune's in trouble. Omote shouted as she stood on her feet. Damn it. We better hurry before it's too late and he becomes her slave. Naruto said as they ran off, hoping to save their friend. Infirmary. Tsukune was currently sitting on a chair near the side of Kurumu, who was sitting on one of the hospital beds. Both of them were silent, deep in thoughts about what transpired earlier today in the hallways. Yahoo, I did it. I can't believe I finally did it. I made that annoying Omote cry. Kurumu cheered in her head while tears of happiness fell out of her eyes. Tsukune on the other hand was having very different thoughts. I can't believe I said that to Omote-san. What's wrong with me? He thought dejectedly as his mind replayed the earlier events. An image of Omote crying came to his mind and he felt an immense feeling of guilt. I have to apologize and hope she forgives me. He decided before an image of a glaring Yura appeared next, causing him to shiver. If not, then Yura-san will definitely kill me. He added as an afterthought. Deep in his thought he did not notice Kurumu looking at him with a small blush on her face. Now all that's left is to make him my slave, then I will utterly defeat Omote. Then I can work on stealing Naruto from Yura. She thought smugly before she frowned as she remembered the way Naruto broke free from her charm. Then she felt a chill go down her spine when she remembered the last words he said before he followed the Akashiya twins. You heard my friend, congratulations, that just made me your enemy. Something told her that she did not want to have Naruto as an enemy. She shook her head to get rid of those thoughts. She would cross that bridge when the time came, but right now she had other things to focus on. With that decided, she turned towards the brown-haired boy who remained silent this whole time. Tsukune-kun, she said, gaining the boy's attention. Hearing his name, Tsukune looked up only to find his vision blocked and it became difficult to breathe. Wondering what was happening, he panicked when he realized Kurumu buried his face in her fists. Oh god, what's happening? I just get in a fight with Omote-san, piss off Yura-san, and now this. Why does the universe hate me? He cried in his head as he struggled for breath. You're sad, right? Kurumu asked gently as she rubbed his head comfortably. Relax and let Kurumu make it all better. I promise to take good care of you. Suddenly she pushed him gently but hard enough to make him fall on the hospital bed. His face turned bright red when she climbed on top of him until she was straddling him. Kurumu-san, what are you doing? He asked nervously as he tried to back away from her, but too was unsuccessful. He looked up and their eyes locked. Once again he felt his heart skip a few beats and found it impossible to think or speak. How strange, my heart is racing. That's never happened before. Kurumu mused as she leaned in closer to Tsukune. Oh well, it doesn't matter. Once we kiss, my charm will control him completely and I'll beat Omote, then I'll focus on Naruto and get back at Yura. Wait, Tsukune struggled to say as their lips drew closer together. He didn't know what was happening. He only met this girl today and they were about to kiss. Normally he would thank the heavens for this opportunity, but the image of a pink-haired vampire came to mind. With all the strength he had, Tsukune grabbed Kurumu's shoulders and pulled her away before their lips connected. What the? Kurumu muttered, shocked. 1 minute she was about to kiss the boy in front of her and then the next she was being hugged by him. I'm sorry but I can't kiss you. Tsukune said, surprising her since he appeared to have broken free from her charm. Why? Because there is someone who I don't want to betray. He answered honestly, causing her eyes to widen before they narrowed in anger. Even when I made it virtually impossible for him to resist me, he was able to avoid kissing me all because of that damned pink-haired bis. She fumed in her mind. She was barely able to control her rage. How was this possible? How could he refuse her like this? Why do you hate me so much? She asked quietly. What do you mean? I don't hate you. Tsukune asked, confused, but was pushed away by Kurumu. Is she so much better than me? She asked through gritted teeth. After everything I did, you still refuse me? She continued as a pair of bat wings sprouted from her back, a devil-like tail appeared behind her, and her nails grew longer and sharper, causing Tsukune to panic. Kurumu, what's going on? He asked in a panicked tone as he pointed at her wings, but she ignored him. I have never lost before, but those stupid vampires come out of nowhere and steal the spotlight from me. She thought furiously before glaring at the frightened human. Now I'm pissed. She shouted in anger. First Naruto and now you all because of those two. I'm going to destroy everything that has anything to do with them. She shouted before aiming her claws at Tsukune. Oh god. I'm going to die. Tsukune shouted in fear. He closed his eyes waiting for his inevitable end when the door suddenly opened. Opening his eyes, Tsukune was surprised to see a flash of pink that charged at Kurumu. Stop it. Omote shouted, making her way towards the succubus in a desperate attempt to stop her. Yura and Naruto entered the room after her. Omote-san? Tsukune asked, surprised. He thought that she would never speak to him again after hurting her earlier. Great. What are you two doing here? Kurumu asked in annoyance at seeing the vampires interrupting her. Omote looked at her and glared. Don't you dare hurt Tsukune. She shouted before pushing her away. What the? Kurumu exclaimed as she was not expecting that, was caught off guard and was sent flying out one of the infirmary windows, surprising everyone but Yura. Underestimating a vampire's strength, a very bad mistake. she said with a smirk. Damn, didn't think Omote-chan had it in her. Naruto whistled as he watched the scene unfold. You have to run while you can, Tsukune. Before it's too late. Omote pleaded as the brown-haired boy came back to his senses. Hold on a minute. I have no clue what's going on. Can someone please explain? He asked frantically. I'm sorry that you got sucked into this, Tsukune. That girl is some reason she wants revenge on Yuri-chan and I, so she targeted you and Naruto. Omote explained solemnly, feeling that this was all her fault. What? I almost betrayed Omote-san all because of some kind of revenge. He thought gravely. Seeing the look on his face, Yura scoffed. Enough of your pity party. We have more important things to deal with, she said while pointing towards the window. They turned to see a fuming Kurumu flying in the air. So that's the strength of a vampire, huh? Looks like I'll have to keep an eye on you, she said, glaring at Omote. Why don't you come out here so I can kill you too? She shouted as she tried to goad the twins. The fool wishes to fight, then so be it, Yura stated with a smirk. She was about to head out, but Omote stopped her. Yuri-chan, let me fight her instead, she asked, surprising everyone. I'm afraid I can't do that, Omote, Yura said after recovering from her shock. Why not? Even though you are a vampire, your powers are still sealed. It would be too dangerous for you to fight, she said, crossing her arms. But you're going to fight, she protested. Tsukune was her friend and she wanted to fight for him instead of being protected for once. That may be true, but you have never enjoyed fighting. Out of the two of us, I am the most trained. Even with my powers sealed, I should be able to handle his succubus, Yura explained coolly. Stop talking like I'm not even here, Kurumu shouted as she flew back into the room. She grabbed Omote's arm and threw her towards the window. Unfortunately for Tsukune, he was between the two and was sent flying when Omote's body crashed into him. The two fell out of the window with Omote landing on top of Tsukune. Are you alright, Omote-san? Tsukune asked as he tried to get up. Finally. Now I'll make you pay, Kurumu said as she flew towards them. Yura and Naruto ran towards the window to see what was happening. If you lay one finger on her succubus, I will end your pathetic life, Yura threatened, but it fell on deaf ears. As Kurumu was about to make her descent to finish of the duo, a bright light surrounded Omote. Tsukune looked confused until he felt something in his hand. Glancing at it, he saw that he was holding a Rosario, more specifically he was holding the Rosario that was usually found around Omote's neck. He must have taken it off by mistake during their fall. As the bright light faded, Naruto and Tsukune were surprised at Omote's new appearance. Her usual pink hair had a silver streak on the left side. Her eyes changed from green to red, although it was not as dark as her sister's eyes, and her pupils became slits. Now in her new form, she stood up and looked defiantly at Kurumu. The succubus though was frozen in place, shocked. The sudden burst of strength caught her off guard. She quickly recovered and hardened her eyes as she glared at the vampire. So you have a new hairdo, big deal, she said, not caring. She has heard rumors about the might vampire race, but she just didn't care right now. Her pride took too many hits from the twins and she couldn't let them get away with that. Omote stood in front of Tsukune protectively with a determined look in her eyes. You may think that I'm using Tsukune, but it's not true. Tsukune and Naruto are the first true friends that my sister and I have ever made. You tried to use them to get back at us for some petty reason, but I won't let you. I will fight for my friends, she shouted as Kurumu flew down towards her. She quickly grabbed Tsukune's arm and threw him out of harm's way. Unfortunately, she forgot to take her vampire strength into account, resulting in Tsukune being wedged into a crater his body made when he hit a wall. Kurumu went for a slash, but Omote was able to duck out of the way. As a counter-attack, she aimed a kick at Kurumu's jaw, but the succubus used her flight advantage by flying out of range. Now open, Omote had no chance to avoid the incoming kick that Kurumu sent her way. As a follow-up, she grabbed Omote's arm and flew into the air. She spun a few times before launching the vampire, causing her to crash into the ground, the momentum from the spinning increasing the damage done. If that's all you have, Akashiya, then I'm disappointed, Kurumu taunted, but Omote ignored it as she stood back on her feet. Frowning, Kurumu charged again, going for a high-speed dive attack, planning to end it now. What she didn't expect was for Omote to sidestep away at the last second before delivering a powerful kick, sending her crashing into a nearby tree. It didn't end there though. Omote ran towards her planning on hitting a strong punch, but Kurumu was able to step out of the way. The punch ended up hitting the tree, breaking it in half. Wow, she got a mean right arm, Naruto commented while Tsukune could only gape. The sweet and innocent Omote, who looked like she couldn't harm a fly, was kicking fast. I suppose, but if she would just let me handle his, then we could be done now, Yura complained. Maybe, but it's good to let you sister fight her own battles, Naruto said as Kurumu tried to slash Omote, only to have the vampire catch her wrist, halting her attack. Shifting her body, Omote threw the girl over her shoulder, but Kurumu was able to catch herself in midair before she received any more damage. Okay, you're better than I thought, but let's see how you like this. She shouted as she began to increase her flight speed until Omote was barely able to see her. Suddenly a slash mark was made on the ground right next to Omote. Then out of nowhere she feels a sting on her shoulder and looks to see that there is a cut on her blazer. The slashes around her increase until it looks like she is stuck in a whirlwind as Kurama uses her like a scratching post. Omote-san. Tsukune cried out in worry as he helplessly watches his friend. Don't worry, Tsukune. I'm alright. She reassures though she winces when she receives another slash. Quit acting all high and mighty. Looks like the mighty vampire race is all talk if this is what you're capable of. Kurama mocked. Yura was losing her temper as she watched her sister getting hurt while some fool insulted her race. If she could remove her seal then she could make quick work, but unfortunately that is impossible until her eyes widen in realization. During the fight with Saizu, Naruto was able to remove her Rosario easily. Turning towards the blonde, she grabbed his hand and hooked it around her Rosario. Once it was in place, she pulled his wrist, causing the Rosario to come off in the process. Her Yaki was unleashed until she was surrounded by a demonic aura. Her pupils turned into slits and her red eyes seemed to have glow. Her fangs became more pronounced as her nails became more claw-like. The sudden burst in Yaki was able to draw the attention of Kurama, who stopped her assault to investigate. Her eyes widened when she saw that Yura was the source of Yaki. This incredible energy, is this the real strength of a vampire? She asked herself in disbelief. The amount of Yaki that was flooding the area was astonishing. I may not be as strong as Yura-chan, but don't turn your back on me. A voice called out. Kurama turned around in time to meet the end of a right hook that sent her flying towards Yura, courtesy of Omote. Seeing this, Yura smirked before delivering a backhanded strike, tossing Kurama away as if she were nothing more than a pesky mosquito. Naruto, shouldn't you do something? 2-on-1 seems a bit like overkill to me. Tsukune asked. True, he was upset that Kurama was using him to hurt Omote, but having to fight two vampires, especially Yura, seemed a bit too much. Naruto just looked at Tsukune like he was insane. Listen well, Tsukune, one of the most dangerous things a man can do is get involved in a fight between women. Naruto said sagely. Don't you think you're exaggerating a little? Tsukune asked with a sweat drop, but Naruto only shook his head. He knew from experience dealing with women like Tsunade and Sakura that girls can be some of the most frightening creatures in the world. Seeing Yura preparing to fight only confirmed it. Believe what you want, Tsukune, but I would like to live to see another day. He said so seriously that Tsukune began to rethink his earlier words. Maybe Naruto was right. Meanwhile, Kurama stood back on her feet and glared hatefully at the two vampires. They have proved to be a more difficult obstacle to pass than she originally thought, but it didn't matter. She couldn't afford to lose. What's the matter, succubus? Are you already tired? Yura asked mockingly, which only angered her more. Don't mess with me. I can't lose, there's too much at stake. She said, getting a confused look from everyone. How's being the school's idol considered too much at stake? Naruto asked, not following, earning a scoff from Kurama. This school means nothing to me. The only thing that matters is finding my destined one. She explained. What's that? The blonde asked while scratching the back of his head. I have no idea. Tsukune frowned. Whatever it was sounded very important to Kurama. The succubus find their destined one among the men we tempt. In other words, he is our soulmate. In order to prevent our species from dying out, we must find our destined one. She said as she flew high into the air. You two are getting in my way and I can't let that happen. She shouted before she drove straight at them, hoping for a high-speed collision. Foolish girl, your attack is too straightforward. It might be effective if I couldn't keep up with your speed, too bad for you that is not the case here. Yura said before she appeared behind a surprised Kurama and grabbed her tail. You not only bared your fangs against me, but also my sister. You should know your place. She continued as she swung her tail, without releasing her grip, slamming Kurama to the ground hard enough to create a crater. She picked Kurama up by her neck before delivering a roundhouse kick that sucked the air out of the succubus's lungs before she fell to the ground. What's the matter? I thought I was in your way. Weren't you going to get rid of me? After all, I'm nothing but an eyesore, right? Yura taunted as she walked towards her fallen foe, but Tsukune appeared between the two, surprising everyone, especially the succubus. What are you doing, Tsukune? Yura asked angrily. I'm sorry, Yura-san, but I think you should stop. Tsukune said, shocking everyone. Tsukune, what are you doing? She tricked you and then tried to kill you. Omote asked, confused at his actions. Step aside or else. Yura warned with narrowed eyes. You've done enough. The human said sternly as he tried to put on a brave front, but on the inside he was panicking like crazy. I know what she did was wrong, but I don't think Kurama-san would intentionally hurt us because of a simple grudge. He finished with a smile that caused Omote and Kurama to blush. Yura on the other hand looked livid. Do not think that you can order me around. She said angrily, causing Tsukune to take a step back. He was hoping his reasons would be able to convince her, but it looks like it didn't. Now come on Yura-san, I'm sure that we can work things out peacefully. I think the Kurumu-san has a good heart, just like you and Omote-san. Tsukune said nervously while Kurumu watched silently. After everything I put him through, he's actually defending me. She thought with a blush. I am not like my sister. She may be forgiving, but I most certainly am not. Yura stated before she disappeared and reappeared behind the human. Kurumu looked at her fearfully, unable to draw any more strength to even attempt to defend herself. This whole time you have constantly insulted my race, my sister and myself. Do not think that I will tolerate such behavior. When I am through with you, you will never be able to speak to me in such a manner again. Yura said coldly with a dark smirk as she stood in front of the fallen girl. Yura raised her leg in preparation for a vicious axe kick, while Kurumu closed her eyes in anticipation, but the attack never hit. She opened her eyes to see another body between the two. Naruto was on one knee, crouched down between the two. His blonde hair was shadowing his eyes as he blocked Yura's kick with the back of his right arm. All in all, he looked pretty cool. "Oh Kami. That tucking hurt like hell," he cried out. Or at least he would have looked cool if he didn't fall on his back clutching his arm, thrashing his legs wildly as he howled in pain with tears falling out of his eyes. Seeing him in such a state caused everyone to sweat drop despite the serious situation. How was he able to block my kick? That should be impossible for a human. Yura thought curiously. What do you think you are doing, Uzumaki? She asked with a glare. After recovering from the pain, Naruto stood on his feet and looked at Yura without an ounce of fear. Sorry Yura-chan, but I'm afraid I agree with Tsukune, he said with a grin. Oh really, please tell me why I should spare her, she said crossing her arms, looking at him with a stern expression. Naruto tapped his chin and thought before shrugging. Well, I could say that I agree with Tsukune, but seeing as how that failed the first time it probably wouldn't work, he said. You're right, it wouldn't. She agreed, waiting for him to make his point. I could say that your sister looks like she agrees with Tsukune, but that might not work either. He pointed out, causing her to nod with a frown. Yes, like I said earlier. I am not as forgiving as Omote. Do you have another reason or are you just wasting time? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Grinning like a fox, he walked close to Yura until his mouth was right next to her ear. Unused to the close proximity, Yura blushed but did her best to hide it. Then how about this one? Let her go and she will continue to live, but the memory of how you could have ended her without trying will be stuck with her forever. She will know firsthand that if she ever did anything to you, you could end her easily. He whispered. While he didn't like the idea of Kurumu living in fear, he had to play with the hand dealt to him, and he felt that this reason would definitely appease Yura. Yura listened to his words, and a fanged grin found its way on her face. She took a step away from the blonde and glanced at the confused and frightened succubus. Yes, she found that she rather liked Naruto's idea. I will spare you this once, but make sure that you know your place. Do not even think about speaking to me like that again, she warned, surprising the other three. What? She asked, surprised. You heard me. I will not repeat myself, Yura said as she turned away. Thank you, Yura-san, Tsukune said gratefully, only to receive a glare that caused him to shiver. Do not think I did this for you, Tsukune. You are on thin ice with me. The next time you try to tell me what to do and you will meet the end of my foot, she threatened. Tsukune nodded vigorously, but Omote watched her sister silently. She knew Yura could be stubborn, and once she made up her mind it was nearly impossible for you to change it. She looked at Naruto, who handed Yura's Rosario back, and smiled. Looks like Naruto knew how to deal with her stubborn sister, and for that she was glad. Yura grabbed her Rosario from Naruto, while Omote took hers from Tsukune. The two vampires put them back on, and their vampire features disappeared. Like I said, succubus, I will spare you once. Do not waste this chance, Yura said as she walked away with the others following behind her. Next day. I just wanted to apologize again for my behavior, Tsukune said, again earning a smile from Omote. It's okay, Tsukune, and I should apologize for sucking your blood so much, she said, bowing her head. Everyone has made up, I'm so happy, Naruto said as he wiped away an imaginary tear from his eye, causing Yura to roll her own. As always, your theatrics are amusing, but it is too early for me to deal with them, Yura said, earning a chuckle from the blonde. Okay then, I'll save the rest for later, he said with a grin. Oh joy, I can hardly wait, she replied sarcastically. Good morning, a cheerful voice interrupted. They turned to see a smiling Kurumu approaching them. Kurumu-chan, what are you doing here? Omote asked warily. Tsukune looked nervous, remembering the events of the previous day. Naruto looked bored, not really caring, and Yura simply looked pissed. Kurumu saw the look Yura was giving her and turned away timidly, causing the vampire to smirk in satisfaction. It looks like she remembered the little lesson that she taught her. I baked you some cookies, Tsukune-kun, she said with a smile. Why me? Tsukune asked, confused as he accepted the box. Remember when I said I was looking for my destined one? She asked with a blush. Yeah, Tsukune said uncertainly while Omote frowned in confusion. Yura rolled her eyes at them, not really caring, but Naruto had a smirk on his face. I have a feeling that this will be good, he thought while watching things transpire. I decided that it's going to be you, she stated, shocking everyone. What? Tsukune shouted in shock. The way you defended me, it was just amazing, she said dreamily before locking eyes with Omote. I will not lose him to you, she declared, earning a hard look from the pinkette. Tsukune had a feeling that trouble could happen, so he did the only logical thing he could think of. He ran away from the two girls, wondering what he did to deserve this. Tsukune, where are you going? Do something about this, Omote shouted as she chased after him. Tsukune, come back. When will we get married? Kurumu asked as she also gave chase to the fleeing human. Unable to take it, Naruto began to laugh at the poor boy's misfortune, while Yura sighed in annoyance. Does this mean I will have to deal with her presence on a daily occasion? She asked, hoping for a negative response. Don't think so, but look on the bright side, Naruto said as he slung an arm over her shoulders. Yura, who was used to this, ignored it and glanced at the blonde. And that would be? She asked curiously, doubting there would be a bright side. We get to watch them drive poor Tsukune crazy, he answered with a grin, causing Yura to smirk. Well, that does sound amusing, she said as the two of them headed for class to start the day. As you know, the academy's goal is to teach you how to better adapt to human society. Because of that, you will all be participating in club activities. After all, what better way to fit in with humans than by doing human-made activities? Nekonim announced. Club activities? I wonder what kind of clubs are here, Tsukune thought to himself. Suddenly images depicting the different kind of clubs that a monster school could have flashed through his mind, causing him to shiver. Please, if there's a god out there will be something normal and not dangerous for me to join, the human thought nervously. Because of this, you will spend the school day looking for a club that interests you the most. So go out and find a club that you would like to join. Also, don't forget to check out the newspaper club. I am the advisor, Nekonim said as the students began to leave the room in search of a club. Tsukune, won't this be fun? Omote asked as she reached her human friend with Yura by her side. I'm sure it will be, Omote-san, Tsukune answered. This seems like a complete waste of time if you ask me, Yura said with a roll of her eyes. Oh, come on, Yura-chan. I'm sure that this will be a lot of fun, Omote said brightly. You never know, Yura-san. You might just find something you like, Tsukune pointed out. TCH. I highly doubt it, Yura said as she crossed her arms, looking bored. She looked around and noticed someone missing from their little group. Where is Uzumaki? She asked. She wasn't really paying much attention during homeroom, so she did not notice Naruto's absence until now. Naruto? He never showed up to homeroom. I'm not sure why though, Tsukune answered. Is that why you don't want to look at the clubs? Because you miss Naruto? Omote asked innocently but laughed inwardly when she saw her sister blush. Of course not. I just find it unfair that he gets to avoid this while I have to suffer, Yura denied. She did not know why her sister would ask that. How could she miss the blonde? Maybe miss that he always finds a way to annoy me, she mentally scoffed. Well, we should just look around and see if we can find anything interesting. Maybe we'll see Naruto around, and if not, we'll go look for him, Tsukune suggested. Alright then, let's go. Omote cheered as she grabbed Tsukune's arm and dragged him out of the classroom, with Yura reluctantly following them. But Naruto. Oh man, I can't believe I overslept. Why didn't you wake me up, Kurama? Naruto cried as he ran towards the school, uniform disheveled. Are you kidding me? I did try, but you wouldn't budge. I don't know what the hell you were dreaming, but it must have been pretty damn good if you could sleep through me yelling in your mind, the demon fox said through their mental link. It was a pretty good dream. I was still a shinobi, but instead of getting paid for with money, I got paid with ramen, Naruto said with a bit of drool escaping from his mouth. Only you would want to live in a world where their form of currency is ramen, Kurama deadpanned. Sometimes he just couldn't believe his container. Whatever, you just don't understand the joy that ramen can bring, Naruto said as he reached his homeroom door. Sorry I'm late, Naruto immediately said as he bowed to his teacher. Naruto-san. What are you doing here? He heard his teacher ask in a confused tone. He looked up to see that he and Nekonim were the only ones in the classroom. Where is everyone? Is it the weekend? Naruto asked, wondering why the classroom was empty. No, today the students are walking around the campus looking for a club to join, Nekonim explained. Oh. Sorry about rushing in then. Guess I'll go look around, Naruto said as he was about to leave, but Nekonim grabbed his arm, stopping him from leaving. Before you leave, would you like to learn about the newspaper club? She asked with a smile. No one has visited her about her club yet, and although Naruto came here by accident, she would take what she could get. Newspaper club? He repeated, looking at her curiously. Yes, you would write about different things going on at the school. It involves interviewing and investigating different people and events. She explained. Naruto thought about it, and if he were honest, it wasn't entirely interested. Nothing against the teacher, but he always preferred to do something that involved more action. When he was about to gently turn down her offer, he paused. By investigating and interviewing for the club along with a little stealth on his part meant he might be able to find some good blackmail material on others. It also meant he could walk around the school and learn about its layouts for pranks without raising suspicion. It may not have much action, but there was definitely some potential for some fun. Plus, the newspaper club might be a good way to gain information, and in the ninja world, information was the most dangerous weapon anyone could ever wield when used properly. You know what, sensei, I think I will join. Naruto said with a fox-like grin. Really? That's great. She cheered. Our first meeting will be tomorrow after school. Got it. Would you mind if I walk around just to look at some of the clubs? He asked. He made his choice and he would keep his word, but he was still curious about what other clubs that could be around. Oh no, go right ahead. And if you see anyone who might be interested, see if they'll join. She said with a smile, happy that someone has finally joined her club. No problem, sensei. Naruto said as he left the classroom. He walked down the hall and was surprised to see how lively it was. There were booths for the different clubs, and judging by the amount of different booths, there was a club for just about everything. I wonder what the others are doing. Naruto mused to himself until he heard the sound of a girl screaming. He looked around and saw a familiar girl in a witch hat running away from a group of students. Stay away from me, you weirdos. Yukari shouted as she tried to get away from them. Please don't run away from us, Yukari-san. One of the students shouted. All we want is to offer you an invitation to join our club. Another student added. Please join us. A third student cried, but Yukari paid no attention to it. Stop following me. She shouted, desperate to get away. She looked around and saw a familiar head of blonde hair. Naruto. Please help me. She cried as she ran towards him. What's going on, Yukari-chan? Naruto asked, confused as the little witch hid behind his leg. Naruto, please help. Make them go away. She pleaded as she pointed towards the group of students who were now standing in front of them. Excuse us, but could you please step aside? We need to speak with Yukari-san. One of the students asked. Just what are you going to talk to her about? Naruto asked with a raised brow. We are just trying to convince her to join our club. Another student explained. Judging by the way she ran away from you, I'm wondering what kind of club it is. Naruto responded as he crossed his arms over his chest. It's a Lolican club. Yukari shouted as she pointed an accusing finger at the group. Hearing this caused Naruto's eye to twitch as he stared at the group of students who looked like a couple of kids who got caught stealing from the cookie jar. Is that true? He asked deadpanned. Well, we wouldn't exactly use that word, one of the students said nervously as the twitch on Naruto's eye increased. Let the tuck away from her. He shouted, scaring the group who ran away from the blonde. After all, they heard rumors that he took on Saizu and they did not want to get on his bad side. Thank you. Yukari said as she released a sigh of relief. Don't mention it, Yukari-chan. Naruto said with a grin. Find any club to join yet? No, I'm still looking. What about you? The witch asked as the two of them walked through the crowd of students. I just joined the newspaper club, but I decided to look around a bit. Naruto answered as he rested his hands behind his head. Newspaper club, huh? That sounds interesting. Maybe I'll join if I can't anything else. Yukari said as she tapped a finger to her chin and thought. The two of them continued to walk around making some small talk until Yukari saw something that caught her eye. Hey Naruto, I'm going to go over there for a while, okay? She said as she pointed towards a sign that said Magic Club. That's fine. I'll just walk around some more. Naruto said. Okay, I'll see you later and thanks again for earlier. She said as she waved goodbye and headed towards the Magic Club. Naruto continued to walk around, but since he had none of his friends to talk to, he soon found himself bored. This was interesting at first, but now I'm so bored. He sighed as he looked around. He hadn't seen any of his friends other than Yukari. Maybe I can find some kind of ramen appreciation club. He thought aloud. Only you would think about joining a club dedicated to ramen. He heard a familiar voice say. He turned around to see a familiar silver-haired vampire. Ira-chan. He cried as he lunged towards the girl. He surprised her when he suddenly wrapped his arms around her for a tight hug. I'm so happy to see you. I thought I was going to die from boredom. He continued. Yura was blushing hard from the sudden hug, unable to think straight. No one but a few of her family members has ever hugged her before. Regaining her composure, she narrowed her eyes and hit him across the head, sending him crashing to the ground. Ow. Yura-chan, that was mean. Naruto whined as he nursed the bump that formed on his head. It's your own fault. I do not remember giving you permission to hug me. She shot back, but a blush could still be seen on her face. So what do I owe the pleasure of your company? Where are the others? Naruto asked curiously as he stood up straight and dusted himself. We started off just looking around with a normal group of idiots worshipping the ground that my sister and I walk on. She said, earning a snicker from Naruto. Omote let her excitement get the better of her and ran off, and with Tsukune's infatuation with her, he followed her. I see no point in these clubs, so I decided to walk around myself. I see. Well, look on the bright side. Naruto said positively. There's a bright side? Yura asked incredulously. Yep. Now you get to spend the rest of your day with me. He said with a grin. I thought you said there was a bright side. Yura said with a straight face. Why do you have to be so cruel? Naruto sulked. Hey kid, not that I don't enjoy watching you flirt with the hot vampire chick, but maybe you should look for the other vampire and the human. He heard the demonic voice of Kurama say, causing him to blush. Shut up, you stupid fox. I'm not flirting. Sure you're not. The fox said with a roll of his eyes. Why should I look for the other two anyway? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because there's a weak human in the middle of a school of monsters, and with your luck, something is bound to happen sooner or later. Kurama said sarcastically. Hey. My luck isn't that bad, is it? He asked, but was greeted with a moment of silence. Do you really want me to answer that? No, Naruto said with his head hung down low. During his mental conversation, Yura was looking at him strangely. For some reason his face went through a series of emotions from shock to embarrassment to questioning and then depression. She was starting to question the sanity of her blonde-haired companion. Do you think we should look for the others? He asked. Yura thought about it for a moment before nodding. Yes, I'm sure that Omote will get herself in trouble and Tsukune will be too ignorant to realize it. Yura stated as the two of them began their search. I'm glad that you have so much faith in them. Naruto said as he sweat dropped at a response. You've met them, haven't you? Omote is too kind, it's going to get her in trouble on day, and as for Tsukune, the boy is too naive sometimes. Yura explained. Naruto thought about it and he had to agree with her. Okay, I see your point. Better find them before something happens. Naruto said. They spent about the next hour looking for the other vampire and human, but had no luck. Where are they? Yura asked impatiently. Not only has she been unable to find them, but every weirdo has practically begged her to join their club. She refused every time, but she was very close to killing someone. In fact, she would have killed the student from the photography club that asked her to be a nude model, but Naruto was able to drag her away before she could unleash her wrath on the poor boy. Naruto watched as the vampire began to lose her patience. Honestly though, he was getting pretty annoyed too. Where on earth could those two have gone? He looked around to see if there was any place he missed when he saw a sign. It was a sign that promoted the swimming club at the school pool. What about the swimming club? We haven't looked there yet. Naruto suggested, but Yura just scoffed. There is no way they'd be at the swimming club. She dismissed without a glance. Why would you say that? Naruto asked curiously. Because we vampires are weak against water. They drain the energy right out of our bodies. Yura explained. Really? What a shame, I would have loved to see you in a swimsuit. Naruto said with a smirk as he watched her blush. Damn pervert. She shouted as she went to punch him, but a snickering Naruto was able to avoid it. He held his heads up in defense. Okay, sorry, I just couldn't resist. Anyway, does Tsukune know about this? Naruto asked as she regained her composure. I highly doubt it unless Omote has told him, but I don't think she has. Yura answered, looking through the crowd trying to find them. Naruto on the other hand grew silent as he began to think. Most likely Tsukune had no idea about a vampire's weakness to water. It was also obvious that he had some kind of crush on the pink-haired girl. He would obviously want to do something fun with the girl. Omote was also a very kind girl. She didn't have the heart to turn down her friends, so if Tsukune suggested it, there would be a good chance that she would follow along despite her weaknesses just so she could be with the boy. The only question left, is there anything Tsukune would want at the swimming club? Girl you're crushing on plus school swimming pool equals girl you're crushing on wearing a swimsuit. Come on Yura-chan, we're going to the swimming club. Naruto announced as he grabbed her arm and headed towards the pool. I already told you that we vampires are weak against water. Why would Omote go there? Yura asked, not liking the fact that she was being dragged. Just trust me on this. Naruto said as they headed towards their destination. School pool. How did you know they would be here? Yura asked as she watched Tsukune swim with an attractive upperclassman while Omote sat down on one of the bleachers with a downcast expression. No matter how nice Tsukune is, he is still a teenage boy. Naruto answered as they made their way towards Omote. Once they got loser, they were able to spot a tick mark on Omote's head that only got bigger the more she watched the upperclassman flirt with a flustered Tsukune. How's it going, Omote-chan? Naruto asked, announcing his presence. The pink-haired girl looked up and smiled when she saw them. Naruto Yura-chan, you're here. She said in a bright tone. You see Yura-chan. She's happy when she sees me. Why can't you be like that when you see me instead of acting all sarcastic and stuff? Naruto asked with a pout. Because unlike my sister, I do not have the patience to deal with an idiot. She deadpanned as Naruto clutched his heart in an overdramatic gesture. Your words hurt so much. I don't think I can continue on with this life. Naruto said as Omote laughed at their antics. She was sad because Tsukune chose to swim while she couldn't get near the water and she was getting very lonely. Hey Naruto, why weren't you at homeroom this morning? Omote asked wondering what happened to him. Although she wouldn't admit it, Yura was curious as well. Huh? Oh, I overslept. I was having this really great dream where instead of money people paid me with ramen. Naruto said as he began to drool thinking about his dream and what a great world it was. His answer only caused the girls to sweat drop. Well, now that we have discovered that ramen is the only thing you think about, what are you doing here, Omote? Yura asked as she looked at her sister expectantly. What are you talking about, Yura-chan? She asked. I mean, why are you near something like a pool when you know water can cause you great harm? She asked, the look in her eyes causing Omote to shrink back. Well, Tsukune really seemed interested in the swimming club. I tried to convince him to leave, but then those girls dragged him into the pool. She explained with a frown. That's no excuse. You know how dangerous water is for us. Do not do something just because Tsukune wants to. Yura scolded. Hold up, Yura-chan, you're making it sound like Tsukune's the bad guy. He doesn't even know about vampires and water. Naruto pointed out only to be on the receiving end of a glare. I do not care. I will not let my sister get hurt just because the human is ignorant. Perhaps he should be more observant and notice that Omote had not joined him in the pool yet. But no, instead he chooses to flirt with some other girl while leaving Omote here by herself. Yura ranted. Hey, don't yell at me. Tsukune's the bad guy, remember, Naruto cried, not wanting to be on the receiving end of her female wrath. No one's the bad guy. It's not Tsukune's fault. Omote said, trying to calm her sister down. After a few seconds Yura finally settled down. Whatever, we should leave before something happens. Yura said as she turned towards the door. But what about Tsukune? Omote asked, not wanting to leave him alone. If the boy wants to swim, let him. Like I said, you shouldn't risk your health just because he wants to be here. Her sister answered as if it were obvious. Relax, Omote-chan, chances are he'll join us after a bit of swimming. But Yura-chan is right. We better get you two away from this pool before something happens. Naruto added. Omote was about to protest, but she decided to give in. After all, they both had some good points. Okay then. Maybe we can find some other club. She finally said, although she still didn't like the idea of leaving Tsukune alone. As they were about to leave, Tsukune was able to escape from the swim club members before he reached the edge of the pool. Hey guys, where are you going? He asked as he noticed they looked like they were about to leave. The girls aren't really fond of swimming. You look like you were enjoying yourself, so we thought we'd let you enjoy yourself a bit while we looked for something else to do. Naruto explained. Oh really? I was hoping that we could all swim together. Tsukune said with a frown while Naruto smirked. He crouched down and spoke so softly that only Tsukune could hear him. Are you sure it didn't have anything to do with seeing Omote-chan in a swimsuit? He whispered, causing Tsukune's face to burn red with embarrassment. Of course not. He denied with a flushed face. He figured it out. He thought to himself as Naruto stood up straight, the girls wondering what he said to get Tsukune so flustered. If you guys aren't interested in joining, I guess there's no point. It's not really much fun doing this without my friends. Tsukune said as he was about to get out of the pool. Before he could leave, a pair of arms wrapped around him, pulling him back in. Where are you going, Tsukune? A female voice said. The group looked to see a girl with long turquoise hair. Hama-senpai. Tsukune said, startled. Why are you leaving? She asked with a pout that caused the human to blush, much to Omote's annoyance. Oh well, I wanted to join a club with my friends, but they aren't really interested in swimming. He explained, causing her to frown. How would they know that if they haven't even entered the pool? She asked as she snapped her fingers. Out of nowhere, two more members appeared and grabbed Naruto by his arms. What the hell? The blonde asked, surprised. Girls, if you would, please give him some proper swimwear. If he actually takes a dip with us, he might be willing to join. Tamao suggested. Hi. Both girls said as they began their work. Naruto tried to struggle from their grasp but failed as a cloud of smoke surrounded him. The group watched as articles of clothing flew from the smoke cloud, followed by high-pitched screaming. What are you doing? No, stop that, that was my best shirt, don't touch me there. They heard him shout in a panicked tone, causing them to sweat drop. Once the smoke cleared, the girls blushed furiously. There stood Naruto in nothing but a pair of orange swimming trunks. He was very physically fit for someone his age, and while he wasn't overly bulky, you could definitely see muscles on his body. However, what really caught their attention, especially Yura's, was the fist-sized scar that was on the right side of his chest. How on earth did he get a scar like that? It looks like someone punched a hole right through him. Yura thought curiously. Naruto did not notice the attention he was drawing to himself from the female students. He clutched his arms and was visibly shivering. I don't think I've ever felt so violated before, he said, causing them to sweat drop again. Now that he's ready, why don't we give him a hand? Tamao said, causing the other two members to nod. On it, they chanted before pushing the unsuspecting blonde into the pool. What have I ever done to deserve this kind of treatment? He shouted before he hit the water with a splash. He quickly emerged, coughing up water before glaring at the members. What the hell was that for? He shouted. What? We just wanted to swim with you, Tamao said innocently. That doesn't mean you have the right to strip me or push me in. He shot back. You're stressed. I'm sure a relaxing swim with us will calm you down, she reasoned as two more members appeared and wrapped their arms around both of his. Where the hell do these girls keep coming from? He shouted as they pulled him underwater, trying to get him to swim. When they emerged, they were surprised to see them holding another male student who had a dreamy expression from being held by two girls. Glad I was able to escape, they heard a voice say. They looked to the side to see Naruto climbing over the edge and leaving the pool. Thank God I did that emergency underwater substitution. These girls are crazy, he thought to himself as he walked back towards the vampires, careful not to touch them while he was still wet. How did you do that? Tamao asked, surprised. How on earth did he escape them underwater? That should be impossible, she thought as she narrowed her eyes at the blonde. What? Naruto asked, feigning innocence. Anyway, like I was saying. I'm sorry Tamao-senpai, but I don't think the swimming club is for me, Tsukune said as he tried to get free from her grasp, but she wouldn't have any of that. Earlier it was obvious that you wanted to swim. Why did you suddenly change your mind? Is it because of them? The turquoise-haired girl asked as she looked at Omote and Yura. I just want to hang out with my friends. It's no one's fault that they don't like swimming, Tsukune answered. I just don't understand. If you want to swim then swim, but if you don't you have no reason to be here, she said as she splashed some water at the two girls. Not expecting the sudden action, the girls were too late to avoid the water. Once it made contact they screamed in pain as sparks surrounded their body. What happened? A worried Tsukune shouted. He was about to check on the two girls when he heard someone else scream. He turned around, was his eyes widened in shock. Two swim club members bit one of the male students in the pool. Right before his eyes, Tsukune watched as the boy began to age at a rapid rate until he resembled an old man. What the hell just happened? Naruto asked as he saw the whole thing. I hope you don't think too badly of us, they heard Tamao say, and they were shocked to see a fishtail where her legs should be. Luring men into water and sucking their life force is just the way me mermaids live. Mermaids? Oh no, they have us trapped in the pool. Tsukune though worriedly as he watched the other members transform into mermaids. He tried to get away, but Tamao cut him off. Where are you going, Tsukune? She asked as she started to circle him. I've had my eyes on you for a while. Well, both you and Naruto. You two have the most delicious scent. If I had to guess, I'd say it was that of a human, she said as she got closer to Tsukune, who was looking very nervous. Let go of him, Omote shouted as she got back up on shaky legs. Such a nuisance. What are you going to do? You can't even touch the water, let alone reach me here, Tamao taunted. Omote-san can't touch water? Tsukune thought, surprised. Was that why she wouldn't swim with him? That's some big talk coming from a lousy fish. Yura shot back as she stood by her sister before she did something stupid. You two are starting to get on my nerves, Tamao said with a frown before she swung her tail, creating a large wave. Acting on instincts, Yura quickly pushed Omote out of the way but couldn't escape herself. Yura-chan. Omote screamed wide-eyed as she watched her sister scream in pain, sparks of electricity shocking her body before she collapsed onto the ground. The mighty vampire race succumbs to a little water, how pathetic, the mermaid said with a smirk. Now where were we, Tsukune? She asked as she turned to the boy only to find him missing. Yahoo! Looks like I came right on time to save you, Hatsukune-kun, they heard from a cheery voice above. They looked and saw a flying Kurumu carrying Tsukune through the air. Kurumu-san. What are you doing here? Tsukune asked nervously. He was not used to flying unless he was in an airplane. I came to help my destined one, of course, she declared proudly before she frowned. Thank you, he said, relieved before looking at an immobile Yura who was lying on the ground with the occasional sparks flying from her wet clothes, glaring at the mermaid. Is it my fault that Yura-san is in such a condition? Because I didn't notice how uncomfortable Omote-san must have been around the pool, he thought guiltily. Just wait until I get my hands on you, Yura growled as she tried to get up. She didn't notice Naruto walk up to her until he picked her up bridal style. What the hell are you doing, Uzumaki? she shouted with pink-stained cheeks. Relax Yura-chan, I'll handle this. The water already drained a lot of your energy. We don't want you to get hurt even more. Naruto advised. I am not some damsel in distress. I do not need you to fight for me, I am perfectly capable of fighting my own battles. She yelled, ignoring his advice. Naruto just rolled his eyes, sometimes she was too stubborn for his own good. Omote-chan, stay here with Yura-chan, hopefully this is far enough from the water. Naruto said as he sat the silver-haired vampire down on one of the benches. I told you I do not need you to fight for me. She shouted in annoyance as Omote appeared next to her sister. Naruto, who was heading for the pool, paused and looked over his shoulder at the girl. I am perfectly aware that you can fight for yourself, but Tamao made a big mistake, and if I don't blow off some steam, I might do something I'll regret. He told her before looking at the mermaid, who was looking at him with a beepy smirk. And what mistake did I make? She asked in a condescending tone. You heard my friend, the blonde growled as he unleashed his killing intent, causing the mermaids to freeze in fear. I'll destroy you. And how are you going to do that? You can't even reach us here in the water. One of the mermaids said, trying to brush off his threat. Naruto just looked at them and smirked. Then in a blink of an eye he vanished and reappeared in front of the mermaid, who spoke, delivering a harsh kick to her face, sending her flying. You might have been able to get one of us, but now you're stuck here in our territory. We mermaids are unbeatable in the water. Tamao boasted, but her and everyone's eyes widened in shock when they saw Naruto calmly standing on top of the water. Maybe I wouldn't be able to fight you in water, so I'll guess I'll have to fight on it instead. He said with a grin. That's impossible. What are you? Tamao shouted in surprise. Naruto looked at her and his pupils turned into slits. I'm the guys whose friend you hurt. He said as he ran on the water towards the mermaids. It doesn't matter if you can walk on water. You still won't be able to stop us. Get him, girls. She shouted as the mermaids charged. They have me outnumbered and I want to keep my shadow clone technique a secret for as long as I can. Naruto, though, as he ducked down to avoid one of the mermaids who jumped at him. He grabbed her tail, swung her around and threw at another two girls. You're going to have to do better than that if you want to get me. Naruto taunted as he sidestepped away from another strike and delivered a blow to the stomach, knocking the mermaid out. Stop playing around. Get him. Tamao shouted as her and a group of mermaids surrounded the blonde before leaping at him. Seeing no room to dodge them, Naruto released the chakra gathered around his feet, causing him to sink down. With the blonde no longer in their path, the mermaids crashed into each other before falling underwater. Seeing this, Naruto raised his arm and began the first stages of the Rasengan, but instead of using his chakra to force the water in multiple directions, his had it flow in a single direction. That, combined with the amount of chakra he put into it, he was able to create an underwater cyclone that swallowed the mermaids. From the outside, the others looked at the surface of the pool, trying to figure out what was happening. What do you think is happening? Tsukune asked, worried about his friend. I don't know. I wish there was something we could do to help. Omote said with a frown. Beating a mermaid underwater is nearly impossible and he has to fight more than one. Kurumu added. The fool wanted to fight, so let him. It's his own fault for getting himself into that situation. Yura said from her position on the bench. She was getting very annoyed. With all the water that hit her, she felt very fatigued. Not only that, but she was worried about Naruto even if she didn't want to be. Suddenly the surface of the pool water began to move around. It started as small movements, but the speed soon increased. Pretty soon they were staring at what could only be described as a whirlpool. Then the remaining mermaids were sent flying from the pool, where they crashed onto the ground away from the water, where they were less dangerous. After that, the whirlpool began to disperse, and soon after Naruto came up and swam to the edge of the pool where he could climb out. Naruto, you're okay. Omote said cheerfully. If he wasn't so wet, she would have ran over and hugged the blonde in joy. Please. Did you think I'd lose to a couple of fishies? Naruto asked with a grin as he channeled his fire chakra to dry himself off. Where did that whirlpool come from? Kurumu asked with a curious expression. Sorry, but a magician never reveals his secrets. Naruto answered with a shrug, causing her to pout. Naruto laughed at her antics before glancing at Yura, and he frowned. It looked like she would pass out any moment. You okay, Yura-chan? You look pretty worn out. Naruto asked as he walked over to it. It will take more than some water to finish me off. She scoffed, trying to hide the discomfort she was in. Of course. He said as he shook his head. Without warning, he picked her up bridal style. What are you doing? Unhand me this minute. She shouted as she felt her cheeks heat up. You guys 4 on ahead. I'm going to take our little stubborn vampire here to the infirmary to make sure she's okay. Naruto said as he carried her out of the pool. I am not stubborn. They heard her shout before they were out of sight. Naruto must be pretty brave to act like that around Yura. I'm surprised she hasn't killed him yet. Kurumu said nervously. She didn't forget the fight she had with her and how she easily overpowered her. Yura-san can be a bit scary at times. Tsukune agreed. He was terrified of the silver-haired vampire. I don't know. I think it's nice that Yura has a friend like Naruto. Omote said with a smile. Well, I guess we better leave before they wake up. Tsukune suggested as he glanced at the unconscious mermaids. The two girls also looked at them and nodded before leaving the pool. The next day. I'm really sorry about yesterday, Omote-san. Tsukune said as he walked to class alongside Omote. For what? She asked with a confused frown. About yesterday, I was so preoccupied with having fun that I completely ignored you. It's pretty much my fault that this happened. If I had noticed how uncomfortable you were, we could have left before those mermaids attacked us. He explained in a dejected tone. Don't worry about it, Tsukune, it's not your fault. Omote tried to reassure, but he just shook his head. How can you not be mad? It's because of me that you and Yura got hurt. He said, blaming himself. No, it wasn't, it was because of Tamao-senpai and the other mermaids. You can't blame yourself, Tsukune, I never told you about our weakness to water. It was an honest mistake. Omote said, trying to comfort him. Maybe, but he started but was interrupted by a sudden hug from the vampire. Just let it go, Tsukune. It's over and we can all just leave it behind us. She said as she pulled back from the hug, a bright smile on her face. Tsukune just nodded as he blushed. Okay, thank you, Omote-san. He said with a small smile, feeling better. No problem. She said brightly. Just who I was looking for. Nekonim said as she suddenly appeared by the two students. Sensei. The two of them asked, wondering what their teacher wanted with them. I needed to talk to you too. It's come to my attention that you have not joined a club yet. The cat-like teacher explained. Oh well, you see, we sort of ran into some problems. Tsukune said, trying to figure out how to explain that a group of mermaids tried to suck their life force. We're sorry, Sensei. Omote added, hoping they weren't in trouble. It's alright. The reason I'm here is to see if you would be interested in joining the newspaper club. So far only Naruto has joined. She said, surprising them. Naruto joined? Tsukune asked, not expecting that. Yes, he did. What about you two, are you interested? Nekonim asked expectantly. The two students looked at each other before smiling. Hi. It sounds like fun. Omote said excitingly. We would love to join. Tsukune added when Kurumu appeared out of nowhere. I'm joining too, Sensei. The succubus chirped with a smile. Kurumu-chan. What are you doing here? Omote asked, wondering where she came from. I'm always where my destined one is. She said as she wrapped her arms around Tsukune's, causing Omote to grow a tick mark. Let go of him, Kurumu-chan. Omote said as she grabbed Tsukune's other arm. The two looked over him and glared at each other, sparks of lightning emitting between them. Tsukune laughed nervously before he noticed something. Hey Omote-san, where's Yura-san? Tsukune asked. Omote stopped glaring at Kurumu and turned to Tsukune. She's still a little worn out from yesterday, she got hit by a lot more water than I did. All she needs is a little rest and she'll be good as new. She answered. When do you think she'll be better? Kurumu asked curiously. She'll probably be up and running later on today. Omote said, earning a nod from the other two. Naruto isn't here either. Kurumu pointed out. You're right, I wonder where he could be. Tsukune thought aloud, getting shrugs from the other. I'm sure he'll show up sooner or later. Omote said as they went to class, the two girls pulling on Tsukune's arm, trying to get the other girl away from him, while said boy cried in tears. Yura's room. Yura was lying on her bed recovering from the other day. The reason why she was currently bedridden was because of yesterday's events. Speaking of yesterday's events, they were the only thing on her mind at the moment. More specifically, it was Naruto that she was thinking about. She was wondering about the strange things he did yesterday. She never heard of anyone being able to stand on water, let alone a human, and there was also that thing with the whirlpool. Since Naruto was unaffected by it, she could only assume he created it, but how? Even when he's not here, he finds a way to annoy me. She grumbled as she felt a headache coming from all her thinking. A sudden knocking on her door snapped her out of her thoughts. She watched as the door opened and Naruto walked into her room with a large smile on his face. It's like he knows when someone is thinking of him. She thought. How you doing, Yura-chan? He asked as he took a seat next to her. I was doing well, but then you appeared. She said, causing his shoulders to slump. So cruel. He muttered as she rolled her eyes at his antics. Why are you here, Uzumaki? Don't you have class to attend to? She asked as she raised a delicate eyebrow. You expect me to go to class when one of my dearest friends is feeling unwell? He asked as he took an overdramatic pose. Meaning you saw this as an opportunity to skip class? She bluntly said, causing him to sweat drop. Of course not. I was worried about my darling Yura-chan. He said as he received a harsh glare that even made Kurama a little nervous from where he was watching in Naruto's mind. If you ever call me your darling Yura-chan again, I will make sure you will never be able to reproduce. she threatened as Naruto paled before nodding rapidly. "I won't make that mistake again, ma'am," he said, getting a nod of approval from her. "But now then, I have some questions." She started making sure he was paying attention. "You have told us you are human, and I believe you. But what I want to know is how you were able to do those strange techniques." I don't know what you are talking about." He lied, unable to think of anything, but Yura wasn't about to let him off the hook like that. She had questions for some time, and she will get the answers no matter what. "Let me refresh your memory. When we first faced Saizu, you created some strange blue orb. Against Kurama you were able to block my kick, which should be impossible for a human, and of course there was yesterday. Are you honestly going to try and deny the fact that you were standing on water when there were plenty of witnesses?" She asked with a glare that pretty much said, "Go ahead and lie. I dare you." "I channeled my inner flames of youth," he offered, but paused as he thought about what he said. Konoha Team 9 training grounds. The members of Team 9 were currently training when the Taijutsu specialist Might Guy came to a sudden halt. Judging by his face you could tell he was in deep concentration. "Is something wrong, Guy-sensei?" Lee asked, wondering what was on his sensei's mind. "No, it's just that my youth detector has picked something up," he informed as he rubbed his chin in thought. "Youth detector?" Niji questioned, wondering if he even wanted to know. "It seems like another person has embraced the ways of youth," he shouted, ignoring Niji's question. "Alright. In honor of this mystery person I will work to spread my flames of youth, and if I cannot I will run 50 laps around Konoha on my hands," he shouted to the heavens above. "I too shall honor this person, and if I cannot I will do 100 push-ups with a boulder strapped to my back," Lee shouted with as much enthusiasm as his sensei. "Attaboy, Lee. Bye, sensei. Lee. Bye, sensei." The two green-clad ninja of Konoha shared and embraced as a sunset appeared in the background. A few feet away you can see Niji and Tenten banging their head against a nearby tree. Yura's room. The room was silent for a few minutes. "What?" Yura finally asked, not believing what she said. "What the hell were flames of youth?" "I can't believe you just said that," Kurama groaned as he covered his eyes with a paw. "Shut up. Just shut up," Naruto said in his mind, wondering what on earth possessed him to say that. Naruto was quiet for a bit, trying to think about what to say. He knew he couldn't keep everything a secret after everything they saw. He guessed that he could give her some answers. "Alright, you win. Like I said, I'm human, but I'm also a shinobi," he stated. "A shinobi?" she asked in a somewhat interested tone. "Yeah, we're trained to use chakra, which is like yaki but for humans. By utilizing my chakra I was able to create the Rasengan, which was that blue orb you saw. We can even use our chakra to walk on water or walk up trees without using our hands," he explained, hoping this would satisfy her curiosity. "I see," she said as she absorbed the information. It certainly explained things. "There was also that scar on your chest. I am curious, how did you get a wound that would leave such a scar?" she said, raising an eyebrow when she noticed him stiffen at the mention of the scar. "Sorry, Yura, but I don't really want to talk about it," Naruto said, looking away from her. Yura frowned at this, but decided to let it go. Everyone was entitled to their own secrets. "Very well," she said, getting a grateful smile from the blonde. "Anyway, I know just the thing to make you feel better," he said as he pulled out 2 bowls of ramen out of nowhere. "How the hell will ramen help me? More importantly, where do they come from?" Yura shouted. Honestly, what was with his obsession over ramen? Poor naive Yura-chan. One cannot explain the miraculous powers of ramen through words alone. One must simply accept and be thankful for it, Naruto said sagely before he started to eat his bowl. Yura just stared at him incredulously before sighing. Chances are she'll never fully understand her blonde friend, but she knew one thing for sure. Things were never boring with him around. And with that thought she began to eat from her bowl. After all, she hadn't eaten a thing all day. "Tsukune, may I please suck your blood?" Omote asked with a smile. Before he could even answer, she was already in front of him. "Hapuchu," she said before she bit down into his neck. "What do you think you're doing?" Kurama shouted as she pointed a finger at Omote, who stepped back from Tsukune with a delighted blush and a satisfied smile on her face. "Thank you for the treat. Your blood is definitely the tastiest. If I'm not careful I might just get addicted," she said, ignoring the succubus, which did not please her. "Who said you could just suck my destined one's blood?" Kurama yelled as she crossed her arms and glared at the vampire. "What? Tsukune never said anything about it," Omote said with a confused look on her face. On the side, Tsukune was standing on wobbly legs with a dazed expression. "She sucked my blood again. If she keeps going at this rate I'll die of blood loss, but having her so close to me is amazing," the human thought to himself, not sure how he should feel about this situation. "Look at him. You're sucking him dry," Kurama cried before grabbing his head and pressing it against her fist. "Don't worry, darling, Kurama will protect you from her." "What do you mean protect him from me? I've never done anything to hurt him." Plus look at you, you're suffocating him. Omote shouted as she pointed at Tsukune, who was flailing his arms around before they went limp from the lack of oxygen. Off on the sides, Yura was leaning against a tree with her arms crossed. Next to her, Naruto was sitting on one of the tombstones that decorated the school grounds with a bag of popcorn in hand. This never gets old. Naruto said as he ate a handful of popcorn before offering some to Yura, who refused. Maybe to you, but I have already grown tired of their useless squabbling. Yura complained as they watched sparks fly between the two girls that were glaring at each other. You need to lighten up, Yura-chan. Learn how to enjoy the simple things in life. Naruto said as he began to laugh. He swore he could see Tsukune's soul trying to escape through his mouth. I think I know a way to lighten up, as you say. She said as she glanced at the blonde, who looked at her curiously. And just how are you going to do that? He asked wearily when he saw a strange gleam in her eyes. The day after school you and I will have a sparring match. She said, and if Naruto didn't know any better he would say she was smiling. What? But today is the first day of the newspaper club. He pointed out. It wasn't like he didn't enjoy a good spar, but still. So? I haven't had a good spar in ages. Who cares if we are a little late? She said with a shrug. Like she said yesterday, she thought that the clubs were a waste of time. I don't know, Yura-chan. I already got in trouble for skipping school yesterday to visit you. I don't know if I want to risk getting into more trouble, especially when it's still so early in the year. Naruto said unsurely. If Ba-chan finds out I'm goofing around, then she would kill me. He thought with a shiver. Yura frowned at his hesitance. She really wanted to spar with him. So far everyone at the school has proven themselves too weak to offer her a challenge. The only reason that the mermaids got the upper hand of her was because she pushed Omote out of the way, resulting in her getting hit with the water. The only one she has seen who could offer her a good fight was Naruto. She sighed as she realized what she had to do. She was very reluctant, but she would have to swallow her pride a bit. After all, desperate times call for desperate measures. Naruto, please. She said with a pout as she looked him in the eyes. The fact that she had called him by his name made him look at her in shock. But then when he caught sight of her pouting, it was too much. He always knew that Yura was a beautiful girl, but he never thought he would see her look so adorable like she did at the moment. He could feel his resolve crumbling as she looked at him before he couldn't hold it in. Alright, you win. He said in a defeated tone, but seriously, how could he say no when she was looking at him like that? Excellent. Then we have an agreement. She said with an excited grin. You two aren't even dating, and she has you whipped. Kurama quipped. Shut it, you oversized plushie. Naruto shot back, earning a growl from the demonic fox. What the hell did you just call me? He asked in an annoyed tone, causing Naruto to inwardly smirk. I'm sorry, did you say something? He asked, feigning innocence, laughing when he heard Kurama cursing before stomping to a corner of his cage, where he would ignore the blonde. So after the last class we will meet up and have our spar. Then we will go to the clubroom. The advisor is necking him, I'm sure she will not be too upset. He heard Yura say. I guess. Come on, we better go before the late bell rings, Naruto said as he stood up, stretching a bit. Do you want to, or should I? Yura asked as she stepped away from the tree and pointed to the two girls who were still arguing about Tsukune. I'll go this time. He said before turning to the other three and shouted, hey. As much as I love watching a good love triangle, we have to go to class. But that down, he placed his hands behind his head and headed to class, Yura walking by his side shaking her head. The other three following behind with blushes on their faces. End of last class. Naruto ran out of the classroom with a large smile on his face. He thought he would pass out from boredom. Why the hell did I think that going to a school would be fun? He muttered to himself as he walked through the hall looking for Yura. Quit complaining, you wanted to see the world outside of Konoha, and now you can. He heard from Kurama. I know, but school, what was I thinking? I've never been good at school. DCH. What about the friends you made here? You never would have met them if you hadn't come here. Kurama said, getting tired of his containers complaining. That's so. Naruto admitted. Plus, didn't you just say to enjoy the simple things in life? You should follow your own advice. Besides hanging out with my friends, what could I possibly enjoy at this school? Naruto asked curiously. Are you serious? Do you not see all these hot chicks wearing short-ass skirts? Hell, what about the three girls you hang out with? They're easily the hottest girls at this school, especially the silver-haired one you're so close to. The fox said with a grin as Naruto blushed. What the hell is wrong with you, Yuiro Kitsune? What do you mean, what's wrong with me? I just happen to have a keen eye when it comes to female beauty. Now hurry up and find the vampire chick, and while you're at it, see if you can cop a feel during the spar. Kurama said, laughing loud when Naruto's blush grew. Are you alright, Uzumaki? Your face is all red. Yura said as she appeared in front of him, surprising the blonde. I'm fine. He shouted, still flustered from his talk with Kurama. Yura looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Okay then, she said slowly, shall we go? she asked. Naruto nodded his head as the two made their way to an open clearing where they could spar without the prying eyes of Yura's fan club. "So, you want to do this sealed or unsealed?" he asked as he dropped his bag, loosened his tie and took off his blazer. "We are only having a light spar, so I will fight in my sealed state," she answered as she did the same as Naruto. Shrugging, Naruto walked back a few steps in order to give a bit of a distance between the two. "Well then, are we ready to go?" Naruto asked as he got into a fighting stance. "I think we are. Remember, it is only a simple spar. No need to break any bones," she answered as she got into her own stance. The two silently stared at each other and then, as if some silent signal went off, they simultaneously charged. Naruto started off with a simple jab aimed at her head. Yura slapped it away before hitting an open palm strike at his chin, causing him to step back. She followed with a kick, but Naruto ducked down and did a sweep kick, causing Yura to fall. She quickly rolled out of the way, avoiding a follow-up hit. "Not bad, Uzumaki," she complimented with a smirk before she charged again. She went for a punch, but Naruto crossed his arms and blocked it. He grabbed her arm and kicked her sides before punching her stomach. Yura gasped for air before narrowing her eyes. With her arm that was still in his grasp, she grabbed his arm and tossed him over her shoulder, catching off guard. Naruto got back up only to receive a devastating kick to the face, sending him bouncing against the ground. He stood back up and smirked. "Are you sure you're in your sealed state, cause that was damn good kick?" he said as he massaged his jaw. "Aren't you sweet, but flattery will get you nowhere," Yura said as she got back into her fighting stance. The two charged again and exchanged a barrage of blows and blocks. Meanwhile, a newspaper club room. "I would like to welcome the new members of our club. Thank you for joining and let's begin. I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun together," Nekonim said with a bright smile. The room was silent as Tsukune looked from Nekonim to the classroom. "We're the only ones here," he thought, as the only other occupants of the room were Omote and Kurumu, who were sitting on either side of him. "Sensei, are we the only members of the club?" Tsukune asked, causing Nekonim to laugh. "Don't be silly, Tsukune, of course you're not. There's also Naruto-san and Yura-san. Though, I wonder where they are," Nekonim informed. "That's right. Yura-chan told me to tell you that they'll be a bit late," Omote said. "I see, thank you for telling me, Omote-san," Nekonim said as the door to the classroom opened. The others were expecting their two friends but were greeted with the sight of someone else. "My, how embarrassing. Late on the first day," a boy with black hair said as he offered the group a suave smile. "This is the other member of our club," Nekonim said as she pointed out the boy who looked about a year older than the others. "Hello, I am Jin Morioka, the club president. It's a pleasure to meet you," he said, smiling, and if you looked close enough you could see his teeth sparkling. He looked at Tsukune first and then looked at the two girls. In an instant he was in front of them with a bouquet of roses for the both of them. "Sensei told me about the new members, but she failed to mention how beautiful you two are," he said as he handed the bouquet to them. "This is our president," Tsukune thought as he watched the older boy carefully. He didn't like how Jin was looking at the girls. "Jin is the only second-year student that is on the club. If you have any questions, please just ask him," Nekonim explained. "You can count on me," he said as he gave the group a thumbs up. "Alright then. I have a staff meeting to go to, so I'll leave them in your care, Jin," the teacher said as she left the room. "Alright, leave it to me," he told her before the door closed. Once the teacher was gone, he looked at the remaining three residents seriously and began to speak. "Well, let's see. First I'll give you the explanation of just what kind of club it is. The goal of the newspaper club is to publish the school newspaper. Most of your activity will be reporting in all kinds of things within the academy and putting them in the newspaper. We'll be put into dangerous situations time after time for the sake of reporting. I'll tell you right now, this ain't gonna be an easy ride. Once you've joined, you should prepare yourself." The others were silent as they digested what he just said. "He looks like someone we can rely on, right?" Omote asked as she looked at Tsukune. "Yeah, I guess so," he answered a bit unsurely. Just then Jin's face broke into a smile and he chuckled. "Just kidding. Let's forget about all this serious stuff and have some fun," he said as he held up a poster. "This is our poster ad. I would really appreciate it if you could hang it up for me." The three of them nodded as they got to work. Omote and Kurumu stood on some chairs in order to hang up the poster while Tsukune was looking over the posters. He looked over at the club president who stood behind the two girls giving instructions. At first Jin-senpai looked like nothing but a flirt, but it seems like he can be serious at times too, he thought before he noticed something. He looked loser and saw that as Jin was instructing the girls to hang the poster higher, he walked closer and looked up. Human's eyes widened when he realized where he was looking. "He's peeking up their skirts," he thought as he ran there and stood in front of Jin to block his view. "Senpai, what are you doing? How could you?" Tsukune asked as he stared at him shocked. This student was supposed to guide them in the club, but this is how he's acting. What are you talking about? Jin asked innocently as he looked at the boy confused. Don't pretend that you don't know. You were definitely looking up air skirts. He accused. Why would you say that? There's no way I would do something like that. Jin said, waving a dismissive hand at him. He's lying. I definitely saw him peeping. Tsukune thought as he stared at Jin. What's going on? Ahmed asked. When she and Kurumu finished hanging the posters, they noticed Jin and Tsukune were having some kind of discussion. Oh, the thing is, this guy just told me how he looked up your skirts and got a good view of your panties. Jin said as he pointed his thumb at Tsukune, whose jaw dropped. How could he blame him for the crime he just committed? What? Both girls cried with blushes on their faces. Wait, don't listen to him. It's a misunderstanding. I mean, I may have gotten an accidental peek, but it was Jin-senpai who he tried to explain but never finished. With Naruto and Yura. Naruto was walking through the hallway with Yura by his side. Both had some light bruises and scratches but didn't really worry about it. After all, with their advanced healing abilities they will be gone in no time. I must say, Uzumaki, I am quite pleased. The spar went much better than I thought. Yura said. Easy for you to say. What happened to no broken bones? I think you dislocated my shoulder with that last axe kick you hit me with. Naruto said as he stretched his sore shoulder around. It wasn't my fault you didn't dodge. Yura shrugged. How could I dodge? When you raised your leg you gave me a good shot of what's beneath your skirt. Naruto thought with a blush. You didn't grope her like I suggested, but a panty shot is still pretty good. Kurama said through the mind link. Stop saying things like that, Iro Kitsune. Naruto shouted, causing the fox to laugh. The two made it to the club room and were about to enter when the door suddenly opened. They watched with raised brows as a fuming Ahmed and Kurumu stormed past them without so much as a glance. They looked at the departing girls and then inside, seeing Tsukune, who had a red handprint on both cheeks with a laughing black-haired boy next to him. What just happened? Naruto asked. The black-haired boy looked at them and his eyes widened when he saw Yura. Naruto noticed a strange gleam in the boy's eyes as he looked at the silver-haired girl. The same gleam he noticed whenever Jiraiya had some sort of perverted thought. Nothing really, this guy just got caught peeking up the girl's skirts. He said before Tsukune could say something. Tsukune was about to say something in his defense, but the temperature in the room suddenly dropped. You did what? Yura growled as her glowing red eyes glared at the frightened boy. He was going to die. There was no question about it, he knew how protective Yura was of Ahmed and now he was going to die. His thoughts were confirmed by her next sentence. I'll kill you. She shouted as she lounged at the boy. How dare this human peek at her sister. Before she got too far, Naruto wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her back. Calm down, Yura-chan. Naruto shouted, trying to calm the girl down. Release me this instant, Uzumaki. I will teach this pervert a lesson. Yura shouted as she tried to escape from his grasp. Hey kid, look at that other one real quick. He heard Kurama say. Confused, Naruto did as instructed but still made sure he had a tight grip on Yura to make sure she didn't kill Tsukune. Because Tsukune was too frightened and Yura was too angry, Naruto was the only one to notice. Jin was looking at the two of them with narrowed eyes. More specifically, he was looking at the arms that were wrapped around Yura's waist. It was a look Naruto knew pretty well, the look of jealousy. The same look he had himself when he still loved Sakura, but the only thing she cared about was Sasuke. Better keep a close on this one, kid. Kurama warned and Naruto silently agreed before looking at the struggling girl in his arms. Yura-chan, calm down. How do you think Omote-chan will feel if you killed her friend? He asked as he vampire began to calm down. DCH. Let me go, Uzumaki. I will not harm Tsukune this time. She said and Naruto carefully let her go. Well then, now that that's over, let me introduce myself. I am the club president Jin. He said as he pulled a bouquet of roses out of nowhere and handed it to Yura. Yura just stared at him blankly and without even looking at the bouquet she turned to Naruto. I'm going to find Omote. You can stay here if you wish. She told him and Naruto noticed the look of jealousy in Jin's eyes again. It looked like he didn't like being ignored by Yura. Alright then, I'll see you tomorrow then. Naruto said and she nodded before leaving the club room. After a moment of silence, Jin finally spoke. Well, since most of the club has left, I guess we can call it a day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Jin said as he left the boys in the room. Alright then, Tsukune, why don't you tell me what actually happened? Naruto suggested as he crossed his arms and listened to Tsukune explain what really happened. Next day. I don't like perverts. Omote said before she walked away. Tsukune, who was trying to explain himself, stood there frozen in place. Finally coming out of his stupor, he tried to follow her. Please listen to me, Omote-san. It's not what it looks like. Tsukune pleaded. I don't care, just go away. She said as she ran away. Watching them from a distance, Naruto sighed. How come it always seems like those two are fighting? Naruto asked. I'm not sure, but it does seem to be happening quite often. Yura agreed. I did not sign up for all this drama when I enrolled here. Naruto complained, wondering what he and Yura would have to do his time to get those two on the same page again. There's no use crying about it now. Come on, we better leave before we are late, Yura suggested. Nodding his head, Naruto slung his arm over her shoulders and the two began to walk. Watch out for Jin, he said quietly. There was no telling when someone could just be eavesdropping. You think so too? Yura asked just as quietly. Yeah, when I looked at him yesterday he had this strange look in his eyes, Naruto said as she nodded. Yes, I can also feel that he is hiding his strength. I do not know how strong he actually is, but it would be best to be cautious around him, Yura advised. Watching the scene from afar, Jin smirked when he watched how Omote wouldn't give Tsukune the time of day. But the smirk fell and he glared when he saw how close Naruto and Yura seemed. He even growled a little when he saw the blonde put his arm over her shoulders. Jin put on a charming smile as he walked over to a pair of girls. Excuse me ladies, but would you mind if I ask you a question? He asked politely. What do you want? One of the girls asked. Well, you see that Tsukune is always hanging around Omote-san. Are they dating? He asked. No one knows for sure, but they don't really match, right? I mean, she's really beautiful while he's just so average, the girl said. But there are rumors saying that people have seen Omote-san kissing his neck, so maybe they are dating, her friend added, causing Jin's eyes to widen. I see. What about Naruto-san and Yura-san? Those two seem awfully friendly towards each other, he said as the girls adopted a thinking expression. Well, Yura-san doesn't really like to hang out with others, one of the girls said. Yeah, besides her sister, the only person she really talks to is Naruto-san. Those two are really close. Naruto-san is probably the only one that Yura-san allows so close to her, he friend added as Jin began to grit his teeth. Omote-san kisses his neck, Yura-san lets him be so close, but wouldn't even say hi to me, Jin muttered under his breath as the two girls looked at him oddly. Unable to take it anymore, he began to pull his hair and screamed in frustration. You have got to be kidding me. What's so special about those two? Why are they so close to those two goddesses? He screamed into the sky. Oh god, he's insane, one of the girls shouted as they ran away from Jin. He took some deep breaths in order to calm himself. Mark my words, you two, I don't care who you are, but the Akashiya twins will be mine, Jin declared as he walked away, thinking of a plan to win the hearts of Omote and Yura. Naruto and Yura separated as they had to go to different classes. As he was whistling a simple tune, he noticed a familiar head of sky blue hair. Hey there, Kurumu-chan, Naruto greeted. Ah, Naruto, how are you? She asked with a smile. Pretty good. So what's going on? You look like you're searching for something, Naruto asked as he watched her lower her head. I was looking for Tsukune-kun. Yesterday I jumped to conclusions without letting him explain. Then when I thought about it, I realized that he doesn't really seem like the type to peep on girls, she explained solemnly, causing Naruto to smile. Relax, I'm sure he'd be more than willing to forgive you, he reassured her, making her brighten up. You really think so? She asked hopefully. Positive, he said, laughing when she hugged him. Thank you, I feel better now. But I still have to find him, she said as she began to look around the hall. There he is, Naruto said as he pointed to a depressed-looking Tsukune who was dragging his feet through the halls. Perfect. Hey Tsuku, she started to call but was stopped when Naruto placed a hand over her mouth. He dragged her to one of the corridors where they could hide and removed his hand. What are you doing? She asked, annoyed, but he just shushed her. They looked over and saw that Jin had approached Tsukune. Kurumu-chan, follow us from a distance while I stay with Tsukune, Naruto ordered, getting a confused frown from the succubus. Why? What's going on? There's just something about this Jin that Yura-chan and I don't like. We have to be careful around him, he answered, making Kurumu agree. Besides, if both Yura and Naruto found something odd about their president, then something was definitely up. With that said, Naruto walked over to the two boys. Hey there Tsukune, Jin-san, Naruto greeted. Ah, Naruto, I was looking for you too. I was just telling Tsukune here that today's club meeting will be outside. Since we're all here, why don't we head off now? Jin suggested with a friendly smile. I guess so, Tsukune said with a frown. He was still mad about what Jin did the other day. Naruto took a quick glance over his shoulder and saw that Kurumu was watching them carefully. Sure thing, he said as the two of them followed Jin until they were outside. Why the hell are we here? Naruto asked as he looked at their surroundings. Aren't we just at the back of the school? Why would we have a club meeting here? Tsukune asked. You two need to relax. The others will be here soon, Jin said with his usual friendly smile plastered on his face. By the way, Omote-san was pretty pissed off yesterday, huh? He asked Tsukune good-naturedly. Yeah, she won't talk to me at all, He growled out as he glared at the president who didn't seem bothered by it at all. Sorry about that. He said, but it was clear that he wasn't as he looked at Naruto, and then there's Yura-san. She didn't even acknowledge me yesterday. It broke my heart. What can I say? She either likes you or she doesn't. Naruto said with a shrug. He looked up and saw Kurumu watching them from the roof. Good so far so good. If they kept this up then they could figure out Jin's plans sooner or later. Well now that we're here I need you to look at the window over there. Jin instructed as he pointed at the window he wanted them to see. Why? Shouldn't we wait for the girls? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. For a split second worry crept into Jin's eyes before it vanished. They'll be here, but we don't have to delay the meeting just for them. We can catch them up on things. He said as if it were no big deal. Watching him carefully, Tsukune finally nodded and stood on a nearby crate so he could reach the window. You know what's weird? Omote-san and Yura-san are much better than what I heard. Who knows, I think I'm falling in love with both of them. Weird huh? He said casually. Tsukune and Naruto looked at him not expecting that. I swear that I will make them my women. He promised with a smug smile. Why is he telling us this? Tsukune thought. What's his game? Naruto wondered. Tsukune was about to ask Jin what he meant when he heard a sound coming from the other side of the window. When he looked through his face grew bright red as he looked at a group of girls undressing. Gin-senpai this is he tried to say as he turned his head and paled when he saw a camera in Jin's hand. Girls' changing room? I know. He said smirking as he showed him the picture he took of Tsukune looking through the window. Hey look a pervert. Naruto shouted. The others were surprised and Jin was about to run for it when he tripped on his feet. He looked down and saw that his feet were tied with some kind of wire. Naruto quickly drew a kunai from inside his blazer and threw it at the camera, breaking it to pieces. He heard some shuffling from the girls' changing room and acted quickly. He grabbed Tsukune's arm and threw him into the air. He followed by jumping off the wall so he could reach the roof before the girls could see him. Damn it. When did this get here? Jin asked himself as he tried to get the wire off his legs when a shadow spread over him. He looked up and paled when he saw a group of angry girls glaring at him. Now ladies this is actually a pretty funny story. He tried to explain, but it fell on deaf ears and he was forced to feel the wrath of angry females. From above Naruto watched with a smirk as Jin's screams of pain filled the air. Thank you Naruto. Tsukune said as he was being held by Kurumu who was flying above. No problem. Thanks for helping us Kurumu-chan. Naruto added giving her a thumbs up. Anytime. Kurumu smiled as she gave a victory sign. Later on that night. A bruised and beaten Jin stomped through the school grounds. His eyes scanned through the crowd of students until he found who he was looking for. Glaring at the blonde he marched over to Naruto and grabbed his shoulder. Ah, Jin-senpai so nice to see you. He said with a cheeky grin as Jin's eye began to twitch. I must admit those were some nice moves you pulled off. Jin said with a frown. What can I say? I've always been a bit of a fighter. Naruto said with a shrug. Listen I think you and I can be great friends. All you have to do is stay out of my way so that I can get the akashis. What do you say? Jin said causing Naruto to roll his eyes. You honestly think that I'll just stand by while you do who knows what to my friends just because you asked? Naruto asked shaking his head. I thought so. It looks like the only way to settle this is the old-fashioned way. Right now, you and me on the roof. Whatever. Naruto said as he followed Jin to the roof. But the others? And that's what happened. I swear I wasn't trying to peep at you Omote-san. Tsukune said honestly as he explained what happened the other day. It's true Omote-chan. Earlier today I watched as Jin-senpai tried to trick them into peeping and then taking a picture as blackmail. If it wasn't for Naruto's quick thinking it probably would have worked. Kurumu added. I'm sorry for not listening Tsukune. Omote said with shame. Tsukune was her first real friend and she wouldn't even listen as he tried to explain himself. It seems like she could be as stubborn as her sister. It's okay Omote-san. I'm just glad we're okay again. Tsukune said with a smile earning a smile from the pink-haired girl. Now that we have all made up, what are we going to do about Jin? Yura interrupted. I'm not sure he seemed pretty obsessed with you too. Tsukune said as he pointed to the vampires. Why is it that you always get the attention? Kurumu complained with a pout. I already told you that I do not like this sort of attention. Yura shouted as her eye twitched in annoyance. Now's not the time to fight with each other. Omote said trying to stop another fight from happening. Tsukune's sweat dropped as he watched the girls argue when he noticed someone missing. Yura-san, where's Naruto? He asked. How should I know? She asked with a raised eyebrow. Because you two are always together. It's like you two are attached at the hip or something. Kurumu answered. The only reason we are attached at the hip like you say is because he is an idiot that doesn't understand the concept of personal space. She huffed as she crossed her arms. Yeah, but it doesn't look like you mind. In fact, if I had to guess I'd say you rather enjoy it. Kurumu said, smirking when she noticed Yura blushing lightly. I'm not sure what you are implying, but I warn you, succubus, watch how you speak to me or you will pay. Yura said with a glare. Let's not fight. Beside Yura-chan, it's alright if you enjoy spending time with Naruto. Ahmed added, but instead of helping it made Yura's blush deepen. Who says I enjoy spending time with him? She yelled in annoyance. Seriously, why were they talking about her strange association with Naruto? Maybe we should focus at the problem at hand. Like where Naruto is or what we are going to do about Jin-senpai. Tsukune said, hoping to stop the teasing before Yura loses her temper. Well, after the way Naruto tricked Jin-senpai, I'd say he would want some sort of revenge. Kurumu suggested. Do you think he would want to fight him or try to hurt him? Ahmed asked, worried about her friend. Possibly, but would Naruto do something foolish like walk into Jin-senpai's trap and fight him head-on? Tsukune asked. It was only quiet for a second before Yura spoke up. Let's go find him. Knowing Naruto, he's already fighting that idiot president. She said as she began to walk away. The others looked at each other before nodding and followed after her. Rooftop. You sure you want to do this? Naruto asked as he stared at the boy in front of him. Jin just ignored him and chose to stare at the moon instead. You know, the moon really is beautiful. Whenever I see it I usually get a little wild, especially when it's full like now. Jin said with a smirk, revealing a sharp canine-like tooth. I really don't have time for this. Let's just get this over with. Naruto said as he got into a fighting stance. I couldn't agree with you more. Once you're out of the way I'll take care of Tsukune. Then the Akashiyas will be mine. Now tremble in fear, he roared as his body began to transform. His body was soon covered in fur, his face took the shape similar to a dog's, and his hands became razor-sharp claws. Once he was done he released a howl into the air before smirking at the blonde who was silent. That's right, I'm the legendary werewolf. Looks like he's too frightened to move let alone fight. Jin thought smugly. Wow, so your true form is an oversized dog? Naruto asked as he tilted his head, causing the wolf to fall over in I'm style. I'm a wolf, not a dog. He growled in annoyance. Whatever, let's go. Naruto shouted as he ran towards the wolf. He delivered a punch but only met air. Where on earth are you aiming at? I'm over here. Jin taunted from behind before kicking the blonde. Naruto stood up in time to feel the impact of a knee in his stomach before he was punched in his face. What's wrong? I thought we were here to fight, so why are you just standing around? Jin taunted as he kicked Naruto in the side, followed by an upward slash, cutting his cheek. Wind claw, Naruto said as his hands became covered with wind chakra, making them more claw-like. He moved his head in time to avoid another punch and slashed Jin across the chest. Jin stumbled back and Naruto followed through with a roundhouse kick at the wolf's head, sending him flying, but Jin grabbed the railing before he fell off the roof. This seems unfair. Last time you got to fight the mermaids and now you get to fight this dog. They heard a voice say. They looked at the roof leading to the roof and saw that it was open with Yura walking out followed by the others. Hey guys, what's going on? Naruto asked as he kept a careful watch on Jin, who was staring at the twins with a look of lust. I think we should be asking you that question. Yura said as she walked over to him. Last time she was forced to watch as Naruto fought for them all, and she was not about to let that happen again. Suddenly a bright light from behind them flashed. They turned to see Ahmed in her released form, her Rosario in Tsukune's hand. Her pink hair grew a silver streak, her eyes turned a light shade of red with slitted pupils, and her hands became more claw-like. Seeing their questioning look, she smiled. I might not be as strong as you two, but that doesn't mean I'm helpless. This guy tried to turn me against Tsukune and he's after me too. This is just as much my fight as it is yours. She explained. Just be careful, Omote. Yura said with a smirk before turning to Naruto, and if you would be so kind, I would appreciate it if you removed my Rosario Uzumaki. This was supposed to be a one-on-one fight between me and the Mud, but I'd rather avoid the wrath of two angry females. He said as he pulled of her Rosario. A wave of yaki filled the air as her pupils transformed into slits, her fangs became more pronounced, and her hands were now like claws. So the rumors are true. You two really are vampires. But it's pointless. When it comes to speed, we werewolves are unbeatable. All the power in the world is useless if you can't hit your opponent. Jin shouted as he became a blur, circling the three of them. So this is the speed of a werewolf. I must admit it is impressive. Yura thought as she had trouble following his movements. I can't see him. He's really fast. Omote thought as she looked around. Let's see, he's not as fast as Lee is without his weights, but it's still pretty impressive. All I have to do is get him to hold still, but how? Stupid perverted wolf. Naruto thought before his eyes widened and he grinned. That's it. Yura-chan, Omote-chan, I have a plan. When I get him to stand still, you two go for the kill. Naruto said. Very well. Yura said, wondering what he had planned. You can count on us, Naruto. Omote added. What's the matter? Have you decided to give up and accept that you two will be mine? Jin said with a fanged grin. I hope you're ready, Omote, because here I go. Uzumaki Forbidden Arts. He said as he made a hand sign. Forbidden Arts. How interesting. Yura thought as she watched on. Forbidden. That means it's really strong, right? Tsukune thought, wondering how Naruto knew such a move. Probably, I mean it has to be forbidden for a reason, right? Kurumu asked, wide-eyed, wondering what kind of attack Naruto knew that it was forbidden. Sexy technique, Naruto said as a cloud of smoke surrounded him. Jin appeared in front of him and was about to finish him off, but froze when the smoke disappeared. Standing in front of him was a naked girl with large freests, her blonde hair tied into pigtails, and the only thing covering her modesty was the residual smoke. You're not going to hurt me, are you, Jin-sama? The girl asked with wide tear-filled eyes. Tsukune fainted from a massive nose blood while the girls blushed furiously. What are you waiting for? The girl asked, snapping them back to attention. Yura looked and saw that Jin was in a daze as he stared goofily at the naked girl in front of him. Seeing this as an opening, she moved. Let's go, Omote. Yura said as she ran towards the wolf. Right. Omote shouted as she followed her sister. The girl transformed to reveal a grinning Naruto, who jumped back right at the moment Yura appeared in front of Jin while Omote was behind him. Know your place. They both said as they attacked. Omote smiled in satisfaction when she felt her kick hit the back of Jin's head hard, while Yura had a sadistic smirk when her kick connected with Jin's groin. Jin's eyes widened so much that it looked like they would fall out at any moment while he opened his mouth to scream in pain, but no sound would come out. The girl stepped away as Jin fell to his knees. Without warning, the rest of his body crashed to the ground, unable to stand the pain, and passed out. Ah! It looks like we win. Naruto shouted as he pumped his fist into the air. His joy was short-lived though, as he received a kick to the head that sent him crashing into the roof's door. What the hell? He asked groggily as he held his head in pain. He looked up to see Yura glaring at him, and he gulped in fear as she walked over to him. What happened? Naruto asked as he stared into her eyes. He could have sworn he saw his whole eye flash before him when he saw the anger in them. What the hell was that? She asked angrily. What was what? He asked, only to yelp in fear when she grabbed the front of his shirt and slammed him against the door that was still intact somehow. That transformation thing you did. She said as everyone except Naruto blushed, remembering what he did to keep Jin from moving. Oh, that was the first technique I ever created. It's the ultimate anti-pervert technique. Naruto said with pride. Well, other than the harem technique, that is, he thought, but noticed that dark aura around Yura. Never use that technique when I am around her, so help me, she said, trailing off in the end, but Naruto had a pretty good idea of what she meant. Yes, ma'am. He said, nodding his head frantically. Good. She said as he let go of him. She was about to leave when she caught the scent of something. She breathed in the scent and was mesmerized by it. She looked around and she found his source. Right on Naruto's cheek was a cut he got from Jin's claws, with a rail of blood falling from it. You okay, Yura-chan? Naruto asked, wondering why she wasn't moving. In fact, based on the look of her eyes, she seemed to be in some sort of trance. Yura didn't hear him though. The scent of his blood was blocking her other senses. She took a step towards the blonde, their faces extremely close together. Without thinking, she stuck her tongue out and gently licked a bit of the blood on his cheek. Yura-chan. What's going? Naruto started, but the words died in his throat when he felt Yura lick his cheek. He didn't know what to think, but he felt his face heat up at the unexpected action. Yura didn't seem to notice this, however, as she tasted his blood and her eyes widened. In layman's term, the taste was magnificent. She had never tasted blood like this before and she wanted more. She took another lick and savored the taste of the blood, the whole time Naruto was blushing up a storm. Once she finished the last of the blood on his cheek, she trailed her tongue along his cut. Naruto wasn't sure what he should do. Never in his life was he in this kind of position. He felt Yura press her body onto his as she began to moan softly. It seemed like his blood had quite the effect on her. Finally she stopped and she took a step back. He looked at her face and saw that her eyes were a bit glazed. Yura-chan, you okay now? Naruto stuttered, snapping her out of her trance. Yura blinked a few times as she stared at him until her eyes widened in realization. She backed up a bit as her face practically erupted in flames, it was so red. She looked around and her embarrassment grew when she saw the others looking at them with slack jaws and wide eyes. She tried to say something, but every time she opened her mouth it just closed, unable to think of anything. Sorry, she finally mumbled before leaving the roof, leaving a confused, hot and slightly aroused blonde, wondering what the hell just happened. He was about to ask the others, but stopped when a thought entered his mind, and he groaned. There was no way Kurama was going to let him live this down. Next day. Yura leaned against the railing of the roof as she watched the newspaper club hand out their first paper. It was an article revealing the perverted actions of Jin and how the female population of the school should be wary of him. As a part of the club she should be helping them, but she couldn't face anyone. Not after they saw what she did. How could she lose control of herself and let her instincts take over? She knew that the succubus would never shut up about this, and knowing how Naruto loved to tease her, she had a feeling he would be mentioning the little incident often. Damn it, you always seem to find a way to give me a headache, Uzumaki. Yura sighed as she massaged her temples. Now that's just mean. I haven't even said a thing yet. She heard a voice from behind say. She turned around to see Naruto walking towards her with his hands behind his head and a grin on his face. What do you want, Uzumaki? Yura asked as she looked back at the view from the roof. So mean, Yura-chan. You don't even say hi to me? I'm crushed. Naruto said as he walked forward until he was standing next to her. There was a moment of silence until Yura finally spoke. Is there a reason you're here? She asked without looking at him. Well, none of us have seen you today, and when you didn't arrive to help hand out the papers we got a little worried, so I went to search for you. He explained. I just wanted to be alone so I can think. She said, still not looking at her. Is it because of yesterday? He asked and was awarded with the sight of Yura's blushing face. I have already apologized. I let my instincts get the best of me. She said, hoping to drop it, but what he said next shocked her. I don't mind, you know. He said so casually that she almost didn't understand. When his words registered she looked at him wide-eyed. What? Was the only thing she could say. I mean, yeah, at first I was a little freaked out, but that was because I didn't expect it. I talked to Omote-chan afterwards, and she explained what happens when vampires catch the scent of blood. That sometimes they just can't control it. Last night was one of those times, I guess. He explained as he looked at her. Thank you for not making a big deal out of this. She said, relieved, and Naruto nodded. He knew she was a very proud girl, and to do something like that in front of the others must have really embarrassed her. You know, if you really want to, I have no problem with letting you suck my blood. He told her as she was once again shocked by his words. What? She asked dumbly, and Naruto couldn't help but chuckle at her gobsmacked expression. You're a vampire, you need blood. I understand, and I have no problem if you want to suck my blood like Omote-chan does with Tsukune. He explained. Why would you do that? She asked. Because Yura-chan, you are my friend and there isn't anything I wouldn't do for my friend. He said with a grin. She looked at him to see if this was a trick but only found honesty. She allowed a small smile to grace her face. Thank you, I am glad I have a friend like you, Naruto. Yura said, causing Naruto to raise an eyebrow. So are you going to say Kapuchu before you suck my blood like Omote-chan does? I have to admit that would be pretty cute. Naruto said, causing Yura to roll her eyes. Of course he would say something stupid that would ruin the moment, but then again, he wouldn't be Naruto if he didn't. The two of them left the roof and headed to meet the rest of their friends to help with the club, and if you listened carefully, you could hear the screams of pain from Jin as the female students who read the article unleashed their wrath on the wolf. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.